Jesus is probably the most unlikely candidate to be the Messiah of his time. Most people don't realize that. Do you ever wonder why, Joe, when you would read the Gospels and everything, and you ever thought that, man, those guys are a bunch of losers, I mean, Jesus kept saying, do you not understand? Have you not read? Do you? He kept telling them, they didn't. He was always emphasizing his resurrection. Why? This is why. Jesus, the Jews taught there were two Messiahs coming once each, Joe. Jesus said, no, there's one Messiah coming twice. The Jews said the first Messiah would be the son of Joseph, the suffering Messiah who would die for the sins of the world. The second Messiah would be the son of David, the reigning political Messiah who could not die. Jesus said, no, I've come first to suffer, and I'm coming back to reign. And this is what happened. Years before then, Palestine was invaded, and they were slaughtering the Jews. And the Jews were walking away from the Jewish leadership. Now, why? Rather obvious. Here they were being slaughtered, and they say, hang in there, Messiah's coming, he's going to be slaughtered for you. Wow, big deal. Does he have a grandfather clause? And so they walked away from the leadership. So the Jewish people, like the Armenian people through history, always knew how to adapt. And this is how they adapted. They started to teach, as many people teach today, that Israel, the Jews, is a suffering Messiah, the son of Joseph. That we have suffered for the sins of the world. They'll say, look at our history, all the suffering. Look at the Holocaust. God took the sins of the Gentiles and visited upon us. I call it the Messianic complex. And every Jew was taught that. Then, to hold the captivity of the people, their thinking and all, and their allegiance, they started to teach. Now, the Messiah that's going to come will be the son of David, the king reigning Messiah who will throw the hated usurpers out of Israel and will rule the world from Jerusalem. Now, what kind of Messiah were they looking for at the time of Jesus? A suffering Messiah? No. Most people don't realize that. They were looking for a reigning. Lord, can we reign in your right hand? Not can we suffer. Is it now? I mean, they were getting a little impatient, like standing in a microwave and say, hurry up. They said, look, is it now you're going to set up your kingdom? Jesus said, I came to suffer. I came to die. No, you can't die. Why? The Messiah can't die. But something happened. He got crucified. And even when he was nailed to the cross, Joe, I still believe they thought he was going to burst down after that cross into Jerusalem and rule the world until the spear was thrust into his side. And I could see Peter talking to John. John, what do we do? He's not the Messiah. He's dead. How are we mistaken? What are we going to do? Rome is going to kill us. The Israel government's going to kill us. We've rebelled against him. And they went back to their homes. I don't think, and the Bible says, went back there in fear, but it wasn't so much that their lives were going to be killed or anything. They went back there totally despondent, in despair, Joe. All their lives, their aspirations, everything just died on the cross. And he said, he's not the Messiah. And went back. But Joe, something happened. And that night in my dorm room, I couldn't sleep. And not in a matter of months and years, but in days and weeks. Their lives were turned upside down. And you don't even have to read the Bible to know this. You can go to secular history. They went out and turned the world upside down. And then they were tortured for one thing, the resurrection. And not one of them ever denied it. And they were killed. And John died in exile for a dead cause. That night in my dorm room, it was a Saturday night. It was all alone, but right out loud I said, he is risen. He is risen. Joe, I've read all the great thinkers. I've read all the thinkers that think they're great. But I've concluded this. Not one of them has come close to satisfying my intellectual curiosity. If Christ wasn't raised from the dead, what happened to those apostles that endured them through that torture and martyrdom and being killed? Some of the worst things in history. Finally, I had to say, he is alive. Without the resurrection, I've tried the best I can with my capacity intellectually to refute it, and I can't.